أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد، وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته المنتجبين. صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله، صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا ابن رسول الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة، ويا باب نجاة الأمة، ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة، يا ليتنا يا ليتنا يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم تر كيف ضرب الله مثلا كلمة طيبة كشجرة طيبة أصلها ثابت وفرعها في السماء، تؤتي أكلها كل حين بإذن ربها، ويضرب الله الأمثال للناس لعلهم يتذكرون. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. A second for the love of Imams al-Hassan and al-Hussein. A third for the love of Fatemah al-Zahra with your loudest voices. One of the purposes of Majlis, among the purposes of Majlis, is to inspire and to motivate and to teach. But among the major roles of the Mimbar and of the Majalis of Abu Abdullah is to educate the masses, is to tackle misconceptions. And this is one of the guidelines set by Samahat Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani, may Allah prolong his life, that one of the jobs of the Mimbar is to tackle current issues, current misconceptions, intellectual misconceptions, and trying to find academic solutions and replies to these misconceptions. Today, my dear brothers and sisters, we live in a world of information. There's so much knowledge out there, so many theories and opinions. Well, which theories are correct and which theories are not correct? Who has the say? Today, college students, when they go to university, when they go to college, they face all kinds of theories all kinds of schools of thought, all kinds of thinkers. And some of these opinions, they can be compatible with Islam, and others are not compatible with Islam. Who can define what is compatible with Islam and what is not compatible with Islam? This is the role of the member, to tackle misconceptions, to tackle the various opinions and theories. Before we begin our lecture series in the next couple of nights, while I'll be at your service in this honorable and respectful community, I'd like to say the following. That the next couple of nights, the lectures will be in an academic format, meaning that we will tackle certain theories, opinions, certain misconceptions that people have heard of, have heard about, maybe from other speakers, maybe have read about. These are some misconceptions that come to the mind of our youth that need to be addressed. Hence, I will say this as a default, that we will tackle certain opinions and theories that we don't necessarily agree with. Just because we mention a theory or opinion, it doesn't necessarily we agree with that opinion. Rather, when we mention an opinion or a theory, it is with the intention to either reply to this theory or to refute it. Either to reply or to refute. And our opinion will be known towards the end of each lecture, inshallah. My only request is that the brothers and sisters come on time in the beginning of the lecture and not in the middle of the lecture. Because those who will come in the middle of the lecture might misunderstand what we are trying to propose. If you haven't heard the first part of the lecture, you might assume certain things. Thus, I request the brothers and sisters to attend from the beginning of the lecture so that they get the full perspective and the full picture of what we're trying to propose in these lectures. We will be learning together in the next couple of nights, inshallah. Wa sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. There are some events that take place. People talk about them for a day and then they're forgotten. There are some events that people talk about them for a week and then they're forgotten. There are some events that people talk about them for a month, maybe a year, and then they're forgotten. But there are some events that people talk about them for 1,400 years and they're still not forgotten. And that is an event like the day of Ashura. Every year that passes, it's as if the event is renewed every year. It doesn't become old. It's as if it occurred this year or last year. People renew their azah and their mourning for Imam Hussain. It's as if the event just took place recently. No one can deny the importance of the role of Imam Hussain and his movement on the day of Ashura. It definitely had everlasting implications and impressions on people's minds for the past 14 centuries. However, the question is, how was Imam Hussain perceived? When he rose on the day of Ashura and he fought, what were his intentions? What was his motive? We all know what he did. He left Medina. He refused to give allegiance. His initial objective was to go to Kufa, but he was not allowed to go to Kufa. He came to Karbala, and there he became a martyr. But what was his intentions? Here, there are various opinions and various theories by old and contemporary historians and scholars who have analyzed the history of Imam Hussain and his movement. Namely, Shahid Mutahari, Dr. Ali Shari'ati, Sheikh Salih Najaf Abadi, Sayyid Hibat al-Din al-Shahristani, Sayyid Muhammad Sa'id al-Hakim, a current marja, and many others. They have addressed academically and analyzed the day of Ashura. What was Imam Hussein's intention and motives? Tonight, inshallah, we will discuss this topic academically, propose various opinions and theories, and we shall try to reach a conclusion at the end. Wa sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Perhaps one of the earliest theories, if we study historically how Imam Hussein was perceived, his movement, perhaps the first theory that rose, and this was proposed by Shaykh al-Tusi, one of our earliest jurists and scholars. Imam Hussein's movement was perceived as a political movement, meaning that Imam Hussein rose in order to overthrow Yazid. His motive was to have a political revolution, basically a coup, to remove Yazid out of office. This was the theory of Shaykh al-Tusi. This was among the earliest theories. Now, how does he support this theory? He says, well, by a couple of points, by several points. One, Imam Hussein alayhi salam sent Muslim ibn Aqil to Kufa. To do what? To prepare for his arrival. This shows that Imam Hussein had the intention of going to Kufa in order to set forth, to prepare for a political revolution, to overthrow a tyrant, a dictator, an oppressive person like Yazid, who is not worthy of sitting on the minbar of Rasulullah. And who is more worthy than the grandson, the only grandson of Rasulullah, Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Thus he was preparing for an overthrow by sending Muslim ibn Aqil to Kufa. This is one. Two, Muslim ibn Aqil also perceived the movement of Imam Hussein as a political movement. That is why when he went to Kufa, he began seeking allegiance, receiving allegiance from the people of Kufa. They began giving Muslim ibn Aqil allegiance. Why? Because he's the representative of Imam Hussein. Muslim ibn Aqil wrote a letter to Imam Hussein. Initially, he wrote a letter to Imam Hussein that, come forth, Ya Aba Abdullah, come to Kufa. The people of Kufa are ready for your arrival. And then tragic events occurred. Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad arrived to Kufa. He became the governor. He began buying the people of Kufa. Muslim ibn Aqil wrote a second letter to Imam Hussein, telling him not to come. He said, Ya Aba Abdullah, things have changed. Don't come to Kufa. The people of Kufa have abandoned you, and there's no need to come. Well, no need to come for what? Obviously, he knew that Imam Hussein was planning for a political event. He wants to overthrow Yazid. Now that he saw that the people of Kufa have abandoned, he realized that this political revolution is doomed to failure. 3. Shaykh al-Tusi supports his theory by these points. Imam Hussein was headed to which city? Egypt? Mecca? Which city? Kufa. Why the city of Kufa? Because the city of Kufa was the capital of his father's government. It had political connotations. There was a political base. There was a support base for Ahl al-Bayt in Kufa. That is why he said to go to Kufa. There's another signal that Imam Hussein wanted a political revolution. Another point that signifies Imam Hussein wanted a political overthrow is what Al-Farazdaq told Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein was setting out first to Mecca or to Kufa, and then he headed to Mecca. He saw Al-Farazdaq, the well-known poet. He told him, where did you come from? He said, I came from Kufa. Imam Hussein asked him, how did you find the people of Kufa? Imam Hussain wants to see, does he have a support base in Kufa or no? Al-Farazdaq answered in one sentence. He said, Ya Aba Abdullah, قُلُوبُهُمْ مَعَكْ سُيُوفُهُمْ عَلَيْكِ. Their hearts are with you, but their swords are against you. This also shows that Al-Farazdaq also believed that Imam Hussain had the intention of overthrowing Yazid. It was a political movement. Because he's telling him that the people of Kufa, their swords are against you. They're not going to stand with you. They're not going to support you. Another way of supporting this theory is what Ibn Abbas, the cousin of Rasulullah and the cousin of Imam Hussain, what he told Imam Hussain when Imam Hussain left. He told him, Ya Aba Abdullah, if you have serious intentions, then let the people of Kufa throw away their governor, let them kick their governor out of Kufa, give you allegiance. Once everything is set for you in Kufa, and then go. Don't go now. And it's not wise to go to Kufa now. See, even Ibn Abbas, he felt that Imam Hussain wants to overthrow Yazid from power. He told him, wait until the people of Kufa, they kick out the governor of Kufa first, and then go. Another point is the letters of the people of Kufa. The hundreds of letters that the people of Kufa wrote to Imam Hussain, asking him for what? To come, to arrive, to rise, to lead an army, to fight Yazid, to overthrow Yazid. This also shows that Imam Hussain alayhi salam possibly had the intentions of a political revolution to overthrow Yazid. So this is the first theory proposed by Shaykh al-Tusi and some contemporary scholars. Now, is this insulting to Imam Hussain? Imam Hussain, this is his right. It is his right to become the Imam. Yazid was a dictator, was an oppressive dictator. If Imam Hussein's intention was to overthrow Yazid, this was a noble cause. To overthrow someone like Yazid, who had absolutely no right to the Khilafah of Rasulullah. However, there are several arguments against this theory. One obvious argument is that Imam Hussain, time and time again, he announced his martyrdom. He announced to the people that I will die and I will be killed. Specifically in Mecca, and possibly in Masjid al-Haram on the 7th of the Hajj. All the Hujjaj are coming into Mecca for Hajj. Imam Hussain, on the 8th of the Hajj, he decided to leave. He left Hajj and he left Mecca. And there he announced his martyrdom. خط الموت على ولد آدم مخط القلادة على جيد الفتاة. He says that death is placed on the neck of the children of Adam the same way you place a necklace on the neck of a little girl. He's announcing his death. He's announcing his martyrdom. He's letting everyone know of his fate. What sort of political revolution was this? What sort of political overthrow is this? When you announce your own fate. So the argument is, no, Imam Hussain had no intention of political overthrow. His intention was for martyrdom from the beginning. Someone who wants a political overthrow, he's not going to announce his martyrdom. Instead, he will ask people to join him. He will say, we will be victorious. We will defeat Yazid. Join me in my army. We will be successful. He didn't say any of this. This shows that his intention was not a political overthrow. 2, Imam Hussain ignored all of those who gave him advice that his movement will not be successful. He will not be able to overthrow Yazid. Imam Hussain ignored them. This shows that from the beginning his intention was not to overthrow Yazid. And he knew that he's not going to be, in these circumstances, be able to overthrow Yazid. Also, Imam Hussain alayhi salam heard of the fate of Muslim ibn Aqil. Muslim ibn Aqil was martyred. He was killed in Kufa. Imam Hussain was on his way to Kufa. If his intention was to have a coup, a political revolution, why did he continue? He should have went back to Medina if his intention was a political overthrow. But it wasn't. Because although he heard of the fate of Muslim ibn Aqil, he continued on the path. Also, a coup, a political coup, requires secrecy. You don't tell anyone. It happens overnight. A political movement usually requires secrecy. Just like when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, when he left Mecca to Medina secretly, no one knew. Because if people know, they will make sure that this movement fails. But Imam Hussain alayhi salam, he left Medina in broad daylight, with women, with children, and he announced his departure from Medina. So what coup was he attempting? So this is a counter argument to the first theory. وصلى على محمد وعلى محمد. This was the first theory. A second theory says that Imam Hussein's movement was for one purpose and one purpose only. Imam Hussain alayhi salam died for the sins of the Shia. He died so that people's sins may be forgiven. How so? How does this make sense? In Christianity, some Christians believe that Jesus died for the sins of humans, for the original sin committed by Adam. They believe that Adam committed a sin. And so to wash away this sin, Jesus had to die to wash away that original sin. The second theory says that Imam Hussain died to wash away people's sins. How? When people cry for Imam Hussain, their sins are washed. When they go for his ziyarah, his sins are washed. When they walk for the ziyarah of Imam Hussain, their sins are washed. Allah forgives. He gives rewards. He who takes one step towards the grave of Imam Hussain, he will receive the reward of Hajj and Umrah, and so on and so forth. So this theory condenses the movement of Imam Hussain to rewards and to forgiveness of sins. The argument is that yes, it's true. Those who mourn Imam Hussain will be rewarded, definitely. The narrations of the Ahlul Bayt say this. Those who cry, those who mourn, those who attend the Majlis, those who walk, those who perform ziyarah, they will all be rewarded and their sins will be forgiven. But is this the reason why Imam Hussain rose and fought and was martyred? No. This theory, it marginalizes Imam Hussain. It condenses the role of Imam Hussain. And this is not, Imam Hussain is much bigger than this. Correct? It's not because he died for people's sins or for the sins of the Shia. This is incorrect. This is the second theory. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The third theory is that Imam Hussain rose for martyrdom. His intention was martyrdom from the beginning. The intention was martyrdom. There are several people that have accepted this theory, but in various versions. There's various versions to the theory of martyrdom. The first version is by Dr. Ali Shari'ati in his book Al-Hussain Warithu Adam, or Hussain Warithu Adam. Dr. Ali Shari'ati in his book proposes that the purpose of martyrdom, Imam Hussain his intention was martyrdom, but why? For a greater purpose, to end tyranny, to give life to this ummah, to the sleeping ummah that was in a slumber after the death of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to wake people up and to expose Yazid. How? Through martyrdom. Imam Hussain knew what he was doing from the beginning. His intentions were clear, his motivation was clear. He knew what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had destined for him. Sha Allah an yarani qatila. He was asked, why are you going and why are you taking your family with you? He said, Allah has destined, has willed that I will be a martyr. And then he was asked, why are you taking these women and children with you? He said, Allah has willed that they are taken captives. Sha Allah an yarahunna sabaya. Allah has willed that they be captives. Dr. Ali Shari'ati says that the day of Ashura was a fight against shirk. The battle between Imam Hussein's army and the army of Yazid was a battle between the army of Tawheed and the army of shirk. He says Karbala was not just a normal incident. No, we have to look at history. It fits in perfectly in the timeline of history. It wasn't an isolated incident, but rather within a framework and a timeline of events. So what proof does he have for this theory? He says that Imam Hussain knew a political movement would not be successful at that time. He would not be able to overthrow a person like Yazid. So his intention was not to have a political coup, but the intention was martyrdom from the beginning. This is one version. A second version is proposed by Sayyid Hibatuddin al-Shahristani in his book Thawratul Hussain. Sayyid Hibatuddin al-Shahristani was a well-known scholar in Iraq. He says that Imam Hussain alayhi salam knew that Yazid was going to kill him. Yazid was a murderer. And he did not want to see Imam Hussain live. Imam Hussain knew that. He knew that Yazid wanted his blood. Whether Imam Hussain would give allegiance to Yazid or wouldn't. Yazid could not stand to see Imam Hussain live. So Imam Hussain knew that he was going to die at the hands of Yazid. But he had two options. To die, to give allegiance and die, or not give allegiance and die. Which is more honorable? To die by giving allegiance to Yazid? What answer will he have to Allah? So Imam Hussain chose not to give allegiance to Yazid. Because either way, whether he would give allegiance to Yazid or not, Yazid wanted Imam Hussain to be killed. So he decided not to give allegiance. And this would give his martyrdom, it would have a meaning because it would wake up the ummah. Sayyid Shahristani says that Imam Hussain alayhi salam, when he went to Kufa, not because of a political revolution. No, he knew the fate of the people of Kufa. He knew that the people of Kufa would abandon him. It wasn't a shock. The people of Kufa, just like they abandoned Imam Ali alayhi salam, and they abandoned Imam al-Hassan. So there was a routine. Imam Hussain was not naive. He wasn't tricked and fooled by the people of Kufa. He knew that these same people who abandoned his father and abandoned his brother, they will abandon him as well. So why did he go to Kufa? Sayyid Shahristani says, لِإِقَامَةِ الْحُجَّةِ, meaning that he wanted to tell the people of Kufa that what other excuse do you have? You have no more excuses. You wanted me to rise? I rose. You wanted me to come to you? I came to you. But look, I did what was my responsibility, but did you do what your responsibility was? I came to you. You asked me to rise against this dictator named Yazid. I rose. But did you rise to the occasion? You invited me. But did you support me? Iqamat al-Hujjah. This theory is called the theory of no more excuses. What other excuses did the people of Kufa have? Because if Imam Hussain alayhi salam remained in Medina, they would have said, look, we are willing to fight, but our Imam does not come to us. He's sitting comfortably in Medina. He does not want to fight. Imam Hussain said, no. I'm not going to give you any more excuses. What more excuses do you have? You want me to come to you to Kufa to fight? I will come to you. But will you fight with me? They didn't. The theory of no more excuses. Among those who accept this theory is Dr. Ayati in his book in Farsi, Barrasiya Tarikh Ashura. He says that Imam Hussain knew that there's no way to make a difference in the ummah of Rasulullah except through martyrdom. This ummah had deviated so much from the path of Rasulullah that nothing can bring it back on its course except what? Martyrdom. Except his noble blood. A noble blood. That's why he rose. His intention was martyrdom from the beginning. Because nothing can wake up this ummah. Nothing can fix the deviation caused by those who came after Rasulullah except through his martyrdom. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. This is the third theory. The third theory is the theory of martyrdom. So the first theory was the political revolution. Second was that he died for people's sins. The third theory was martyrdom. The fourth theory by Shaykh Salihi Najaf Abadi. Shaykh Salihi Najaf Abadi says that Imam Hussein's motives evolved. When he left Medina, he had one motive. When he went to Mecca, his motive changed, and then towards the end, his motives changed. He didn't have one motive from the beginning, but his motives, they changed and progressed as the days passed. So for example, in the beginning when he left Medina, his intention was to overthrow Yazid. And when he went to Mecca, his intention was to overthrow Yazid and announce his political revolution. But then after the martyrdom of Muslim ibn Aqil, and when he received the letters of Muslim ibn Aqil that don't come ya Abu Abdullah, don't come to Kufa, the people of Kufa have turned against us, the intention of Imam Hussain changed from political revolution to what? Martyrdom. So his purpose and motive evolved from one to another. The argument against this theory is that this means Imam Hussein's knowledge was limited. It means that Imam Hussain from the beginning, he didn't know what he was doing, and that he was naive. Astaghfirullah. And this is not correct. Imam Hussain from the beginning, he knew what his goal was. He knew what his objective was. He knew what his mark was. But according to this theory, he didn't. So this is an argument against this theory. The fifth theory is by Shaheed Mutahhari, rahmatullah alayh. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Shaheed Mutahhari's theory is very beautiful. He says, why do we have to say that Imam Hussain alayhi salam only had one aim and one objective and one purpose? No. Imam Hussain had several objectives, several goals, and not just one. Why do we have to restrict his movement to only one purpose and one aim and one objective? No, Imam Hussain had various objectives and various goals. What were his goals? Shaheed Mutahhari says, number one, al-amr bil-ma'roof wa-nahi an-al-munkar. Imam Hussain announced this from the beginning. إني لم أخرج أشرا ولا بطرا ولا مفسدا ولا ظالما وإنما خرجت لطلب الإصلاح في أمة جدي أريد أن آمر بالمعروف وأنهى عن المنكر. This was his number one goal, to enjoin the good and forbid the evil. The evil of Yazid, the evil of Bani Umayyah, the evil of even the ones before. He wants to forbid this evil. This is one. Two, he rose to avoid giving allegiance to Yazid. Yazid does not deserve the allegiance of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Someone like Yazid. So he rose, so that no one will ask him for allegiance. He left Medina. Not only did Imam Hussain refuse to give allegiance to Yazid, he asked allegiance for himself. Why? Even though Imam Hussain knew these people are not going to give him allegiance. He knew that these people will not allow him to become Khalifa. Those who have the love of dunya in their hearts, they will allow someone like Imam Hussain to be their Imam. But Imam Hussain wanted to show utmost rejection to Yazid's allegiance. He asked allegiance to himself. He said, no, I won't give allegiance to Yazid. Instead, you have to give me allegiance. I am your Imam. إن أهل بيت النبوة موضع الرسالة ومثلي لا يبايع مثله. Someone like me will not give allegiance to someone like Yazid. 2, and number 3, to answer the invitation of the people of Kufa. Imam Hussain alayhi salam was invited to rise by the people of Kufa to stand against tyranny and dictatorship. He answered the call of the people of Kufa. So Imam Hussein's intentions and motives wasn't just one. Imam Hussain had various intentions for rising against Yazid. He had several motives and reasons to rise against Yazid. And finally, the 6th theory by Ayatollah Sayyid Muhammad Sa'id al-Hakim, who was a current contemporary jurist in Najaf. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Sayyid al-Hakim says that in order to understand the movement of Imam Hussain, let's see what happened after the death of Imam Hussain. Before the death of Imam Hussain, those who came to power, they enjoyed 2 qualities. They were political leaders and religious leaders. Political and religious. They didn't just lead the ummah, they were religious leaders. That is why they would tell people how to pray. Say Ameen in your salah. Pray with your hands folded. Break your fast at this time. They innovated. They had bid'ah in religion. Because they weren't just political leaders, they were also religious leaders. And this is where the ummah went astray. When they saw these leaders who came after Rasulullah, not the Ahlul Bayt, but their adversaries, they didn't just see them as political leaders, they also saw them as religious leaders. They took their religion from them. And this is the problem. If they hadn't gotten involved in religion and just went for politics, it would have been easy. But they mixed between politics and religion. And here people went astray. Here people deviated from Ahlul Bayt. Here people, their salah changed and their fasting changed and khums went and. Imam Hussain rose to separate between religion and politics. To say that these people sitting on this minbar claiming to represent Rasulullah, even if they force you to be their political leaders, but they are not your religious leaders. Don't listen to them in the matters of religion. If you have no power to overthrow them in the matters of politics, but at least in the realm of religion, they have no authority. Hence, after the time of Yazid, the innovation stopped. Look at other schools of thought. All the innovations that they have, the way they pray, the way they fast, all the things that they do, they learned them from whom? Those before Yazid, not after Yazid. Because when Imam Hussain alayhi salam rose and he exposed Yazid, people realized that these individuals, they are not worthy of being religious leaders. They might lead politically, they might be political rulers, but religiously, no. They have no saying in religion whatsoever. So the innovation stopped. The bid'ah, they stopped. And this is how Imam Hussain alayhi salam rescued religion. He rescued religion from innovation, from bid'ah. The Khulafa, they had no authority to come and tell people, pray like this, pray with your hands crossed, or say this, or say that. No. Because Imam Hussain exposed them. They realized that these people, they made them go astray. And this is a very beautiful theory. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. In my humble opinion, I think that out of all of these theories, the ones that make most, they make the most amount of sense and are very reasonable are the theories of Shaheed Mutahhari and Sayyid Muhammad Sa'id al-Hakim. And if I can add a little bit as I conclude, Imam Hussein's movement was a movement to defend religion, to rescue Islam and to defend Islam. And all we need is one saying to prove this point. Abu al-Fadl Abbas alayhi salam, when his hand was cut off, Abu al-Fadl Abbas was a spokesman for Imam Hussain. He knew very well what the intention of Imam Hussain was. What did he say when they cut off his right hand? Wallahi in qata'tumu yamini inni uhami abadan an dini. I swear to you, I swear to God, that if you cut off my right hand, I will continue to protect my religion. Abu al-Fadl Abbas said it loud and clear on the day of Ashura. What the intention of Imam Hussain and this battle, what it's for? To save religion, to rescue religion, to defend religion. Inni uhami abadan an dini. So this is the reason, my dear friends. For 14 centuries, we gather every year for 10 nights, for 30 nights, in some places 60 nights, the 2 months of Muharram and Safar. We wear black, we cry, we shed our tears, we mourn, because Imam Hussain deserves it. If it wasn't for Imam Hussain, Islam would have vanished. فَعَلَى الْإِسْلَامِ السَّلَامِ إِذَا ابْتُلِيَتِ الْأُمَّةِ بِرَاعٍ مِثْلَ يَزِيدٍ. Imam Hussain says that salam on Islam means goodbye to Islam if a person like Yazid wants to come to power. Imagine the innovations that Yazid would have brought to Islam. Those who were before him, they claimed to be pious, and look at what they did to Islam. Yazid, the difference between Yazid and others, the others apparently they were pious, but at home they weren't. Yazid, publicly and privately, he wasn't pious. And he wanted to speak in the name of religion. He wanted to speak in the name of Islam. Imagine what he would have caused to Islam if he had continued. But Imam Hussain put an end to this because he exposed Yazid. He made people realize what sort of individual this is. They cannot take their faith from a person like Yazid, who was called Amir al-Mu'mineen. Imagine, a person like Yazid is called Amir al-Mu'mineen. So how did Imam Hussain rescue Islam? We recite this in Ziyarat al-Arba'een by Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. On the day of Arba'een, Imam Sadiq in his ziyarah, he says, وَبَذَلَ مُحْجَتَهُ فِيكَ. He sacrificed the blood of his heart in your cause. Imam Sadiq is telling Allah. Why? لِيَسْتَنْقِذَ عِبَادَكَ مِنَ الْجَهَالَةِ وَحَيْرَةِ الضَّلَالَةِ. To save your servants from ignorance. Imam Hussain saved us from ignorance. مِنَ الْجَهَالَةِ وَحَيْرَةِ الضَّلَالَةِ. People were ignorant. People were living in darkness. People were living in the night. Imam Hussain was that shining sun. They came out and rose for people and brought day. For many years, for 5 decades, people were living in darkness. From the day that Rasulullah departed this life until the day of Ashura, the Ummah was living in darkness because the path that Allah and Rasulullah had drew for the people, they went astray. Yet Imam Hussain brought daylight back to people's hearts. لِيَسْتَنْقِذَ عِبَادَكَ مِنَ الْجَهَالَةِ وَحَيْرَةِ الضَّلَالَةِ. Imam Hussain alayhi salam was asked to give allegiance to Yazid by the governor of Medina, Al-Walid. Imam Hussain refused. Imam Hussain began to shout in the house of the governor, وَمِثْلِي لَا يُبَايِعُ مِثْلَهُ. Someone like me, can I give allegiance to a person like Yazid? The night that Imam Hussain wanted to depart from Medina, he goes to the grave of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. to say his farewell to his grandfather. He sits next to the grave of Rasulullah. He says his farewell. He begins to cry and weep, and then he falls asleep on the grave of Rasulullah. He sees Rasulullah in his dream, coming towards him with angels to his right, angels to his left, angels behind him, angels before him. He comes and he hugs his grandson, Imam Hussain. Imam Hussain tells his grandfather, Ya Rasulullah, come out to this dunya. Rasulullah tells him, La, Ya Hussain. في الجنة لا تنالها إلا بالشهادة. That, Ya Hussein, you have a special place in paradise waiting for you, but you cannot attain this place except through martyrdom. So come quickly to us. I am waiting for you. Your mother Fatemah is waiting for you. Your father Ali ibn Abi Talib, your brother Al-Hassan. Come to us, my grandson Hussein. ضمني عندك يا جداه في هذا الضريح. علني يا جد من بلوى زماني أستريح. There's verses of poetry in Arabic, very beautiful. Imam Hussain alayhi salam tells his grandfather, Ya Rasulullah, take me inside your grave. Rasulullah says, no, Ya Aba Abdullah, there's a way awaiting you. There's a day ahead of you, Ya Aba Abdullah. You have to go back, and you have to go towards Karbala, and you have to fight. And it's as if I can see you landing in Karbala. It's as if I can see your children shouting from thirst. It's as if I can see your youth fighting on the sands of Karbala. It's as if I can see your noble blood being spilt in Karbala. It's as if I can see Shimr ibn al-Jawshan sitting on your chest. It's as if I can see your tents burning in Karbala. Imam Hussain leaves the city of Medina along with his sister Zainab, his brothers, his sons, his nephews. They all leave Medina. This was a day, and there was another day when the caravan of Aba Abdullah comes back to Medina. This time the caravan is women without men. This time the caravan is empty of Imam Hussain. Sayyidah Zainab left Medina, yet protected by her brothers, by her children, by her nephews. But there was another day when she came back to Medina without her brothers, without her nephews, without her children. She goes to the house of Aba Abdullah, that empty, lonely house that one day was shining with the presence of Aba Abdullah. Now the house is empty. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. نسألك اللهم وندعوك. Raise your hands in dua. باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته، ولا هما إلا فرجته، ولا عيبا إلا سترته، ولا خوفا إلا آمنته، ولا رزقا إلا بسطته، ولا شملا إلا جمعته، ولا مرضا إلا شفيته. On my way here, my dear brothers and sisters, yesterday I left Karbala and I came through the city of Najaf. And when I was on the plane, I was on the flight, there was a gentleman sitting next to me. So he asked me, where are you going? I told him I'm going to the United States. I have a Majlis for Imam Hussain alayhi salam. I told him, where are you going? He said, Sayyid, I'm going to India. He said, a couple of months ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. And they found tumors on my pancreas and on my kidneys. And they told me, in Iraq, I don't have a cure. You have to go in India, and you have to see what they'll do for you in India. He said, Sayyid, when you go to your majalis, ask the mu'mineen to say a dua for me. Remember this brother in your dua. And there are many others, this Sheikh Shubbar, there's many others. Believe me, there's some people that wait all year long for the dua of the nights of Ashura. Let's say our dua for them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cure all the sick and those who are waiting for our dua. وَلَا مَرِيضًا إِلَّا شَفَيْتَهُ وَلَا حَاجَةً مِّنْ حَوَائِجِ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ لَكَ فِيهَا رَضًا وَلَنَا فِيهَا صَلَاحٌ إِلَّا قَضَيْتَهَا وَيَسَّرْتَهَا يَا أَرْحَمَ الراحمين. ولأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والعلماء والشهداء نقرأ سورة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.